From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson, joined by my dear friend over the phone.
Now, we were talking about my contract at CTV. You're supposed to say that I'm the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV, the man of the hour with the power. It's in my contract. You should be saying that. You should be introducing me like that. I do appreciate that. We are
Why
great friends.
would I tell a blatant lie like that?
It is not a lie. It is the
It
truth.
is a lie, because in order to be sexy, that means you have to have a large female following, of which you have
a
none.
female following. That's how come you're jealous of that, too.
I ain't jealous of you.
You are always jealous of me.
I am
Stop
not
being so
jealous of you.
me, for crying
What
out
would
loud.
I have to be jealous about?
Yes. That I do have a large woman following.
No, you don't have a large woman
I am
following.
the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV.
Horse manure is more sexy than you, man.
That you are my great friend, and that I respect you because you are knowledgeable in sports, and so am I. And you're lucky to have me because I'm one of the very few people that'll put up with you.
Oh, brother.
But it's always a pleasure to be here.
Of course.
Because my contract says so. So remember that, just like Joe DiMaggio used to say, you have to introduce him as the greatest the greatest New York Yankee ball player of all time, and the way Bruno Sammartino had to be called the greatest wrestler of all time.
Now that's debatable. Both of those things are very debatable.
Who I am, sir. So now that that's out, we can go back to sports.
Yes, please.
Now, the Yankees got a real whooping.
And a lesson.
Tell them the whooping and the lesson that they received, especially Gary Sanchez.
Yeah. All you have to know about this past series against Cleveland is 11-3 and 11-1. Those were the scores that the Indians won by against the Yankees. The lesson is never, ever underestimate your opponent, because something might happen. Anything can happen. That's what makes baseball and all of the other sports so unique in their own ways. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
That is true. That is true. You're absolutely right on that, because, are the Yankees still in the wild card, or have they slacked off, or are they still in the run?
I'm not sure if they've slacked off. I mean, they're trying to play hard, but unfortunately, they're out of the wild card spot for the moment. They're a game and a half behind.
What is it about the Yankees that they started off great, and now, I know in most teams, they have a tendency to have a downfall.
Yeah.
So what is it about the Yankees that it's their downfall right now, besides their inept hitting?
Injuries, for one. They have at least 10 guys on the injured list. And for another, they stopped making plays. They stopped manufacturing runs. They were manufacturing runs because they were using the running game as part of their arsenal. Now, all of a sudden, they've stopped stealing bases. Not only that, but the pitching has been a total disappointment. Look no further than the number one guy on the Yankees right now. He went from having 14 wins to having a major dud in yesterday's game, and he pitched so poorly that all of the fans started booing him. And obviously he had no problem with that, because he realized that he, like the other 24 guys, did not play well.
Did he take himself out of the game, or did the coach take him out of the game?
Aaron Boone took him out of the game. Let me tell you right now, no pitcher ever wants to be taken out of a game. They want to be able to last as long as they can, sabermetrics notwithstanding.
Yeah, but if you're taking a shellacking like that, I mean, because he had a hand problem, though, didn't he?
He had a little bit of a hand problem, yeah.
Did he, by some chance, did they find out what was the problem? Did he have something on his finger, or did he get hit with the ball? What was it, if you can recall?
My guess is he probably had a blister on his finger. And it's Cole, and it's Garrett Cole, the pitcher that I'm thinking of right now.
So, the people that are out.
Oh, boy. Let me give you a list of names.
Okay, shoot. I'm ready.
That have been going either in and out of the injured list or still on the injured list. There is a little bit of good news, though. Luis Severino, who was on the 60-day injured list, finally got activated, which means he's going to be able to pitch for them in the next couple of days. But
that's good. At least he's coming back, hopefully. And, you know, what is his role going to be, considering he's been out for 2 years?
Yeah, my guess is that they're going to make him an opener as opposed to being a starter. In other words, he'll open the top of the first inning and maybe go to the second inning, and that's that. I
mean, are the Yankees having more problems in starting rotation, or are they having problems in the bullpen?
It's a combination of both, unfortunately.
So wouldn't you put him in the bullpen just to pitch one inning instead of the start at the beginning?
I would see them doing that, yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know, for those fans, because I've seen this on YouTube, Goose Gossage starting, pitching a game, and it wasn't in relief. He was actually starting a game.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. And Mariano Rivera did the same thing. He came up as a starter. They both came up as a starter, and they wound up being in the bullpen. And they're both one, two of the greatest closers, you know, besides Dennis Eckersley and some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny that right now you have a big list there. What is the list, right? Do you have it? Are you be able
Yeah, I have it with me right now.
Go ahead. Who is it?
Let's start from the very beginning. Joey Gallo, neck tightness. Aaron Judge, dizziness. Zach Britton, Tommy John surgery. Jameson Taillon. Here we are. Jameson Taillon, partial tear of a tendon in his right ankle. Let's see here. Here we go. Domingo Germán, right shoulder inflammation. Jonathan Loaizaga, right shoulder strain. Miguel Andujar, left wrist strain. Usually, when it comes to a left wrist strain, it would take you no more than a couple of weeks for it to heal. But he's been on the injured list the whole season since spring training, and he has not picked up a bat yet. Clint Frazier, vertigo. Zach Britton, Tommy John surgery. Aaron Hicks, a torn tendon sheath in his left wrist. Tim Locastro, torn ACL. And Darren O'Day, a left hamstring strain. Let me tell you that any part of the hamstring, left or right, is a real problem to try and overcome because you don't know whether it's going to take you 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks or if he'll be out for the entire season. And Darren O'Day has been out since...
time. It can come back, too. Because look at Ricky Henderson. He used to have a lot of hamstring problems, but sometimes they were fake because he just didn't want to play.
Yeah.
According to some people. But the big question is, do they have to make the playoffs or go all the way this year so that the Yankees do not, or upper management says, you know what, we're going to have to blow up this team and start fresh, start anew. What do you think? Do you think the Yankees have to start anew?
I don't think the Yankees are going to do a fresh start. I think they're just going to look at a couple of positions on the roster and see where they feel the most need to try and improve. But I can tell you right now, one place to look at is the bullpen. That entire bullpen has been extremely overworked. The starters are not pitching long into games, and because of that, they have to use the guys in the bullpen. That also explains why a couple of guys from the bullpen have major injuries this season. But as far as where else, if I'm the Yankees, I look at shortstop right away. Because let me tell you, I know they want to give the kid a chance, but Gleyber Torres has killed them with his major mistakes being made on the infield. Both throwing errors and fielding errors. Another place.
Isn't he coming back from an injury?
I think he might have had a little malady here and there, but I'm not really sure for certain.
Or am I thinking of someone else that they transferred from short to second? Because last year he had was it he that had the major injury last year?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Because he was really good last year until he had that injury.
Yeah.
And then he came back this year still with the same injury and he couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's the injury, or maybe it's the oops, or the yups.
A case of the
like
yips,
Steve
you mean?
Sachs used to have.
You mean the case of the yips?
Yeah, the yips.
I'm not sure it's a case of the yips, though. I think it might be, it could be a mechanical problem when it comes to throwing to first.
Yeah, because do you think they'll sign Aaron Judge? Because his contract ends this year as well.
I think that goes without saying, Hector. Aaron Judge has been their most consistent player this year. Him and, to a lesser extent, Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, they have to keep him because his contract is still huge.
Mm-hmm. But next year, if he goes through a fifth full season, he could get 10-5 rights, which means 10 years in the majors and the last 5 with the same team. So if the Yankees want to be able to get out from underneath that gargantuan contract, which, by the way, expires, I think, in 2028, they might be able to ask him if he would waive his rights. What was that?
Sorry, it's about that. It's one of my women calling. I had to tell them to stop. But you're not going to believe that. You're not going to believe that. Why would you?
Because it's a false
It
thing.
is not false. Stop being so jealous and talk
I ain't
about
jealous of
for
you.
God's sakes, man.
I ain't jealous of you.
Yes, you are.
No,
You're the
I'm
most
not,
jealous
because I
person
know
in
you're
the
living a
world.
lie.
You're jealous.
No, I'm not jealous.
Tell
I know
now.
you're living
we
a
were
lie.
talking about sports.
Hey,
Let's
you brought it up, man.
Giancarlo Stanton, 5-10.
You mean
Do they have
10-5?
to ask him to leave?
The Yankees might want to ask him to have a fresh start somewhere else.
Would you get rid of him?
This year, he's actually played well. And I think it's no coincidence that ever since he was put back in the outfield, he's been playing much better baseball.
Well, you know what the situation with that is?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've known that, and a lot of players have talked about this, and that is it's very hard to be a DH. You want to be always in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in the game, paying attention and everything else, you're more into it. When you're on the bench and you just have to hit every fourth time and you get up, 3 or 4 at-bats?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. And some people are masters at not one of them.
No.
He's
Because he
not.
was
He's
so
not
used to
one of
playing
them.
the outfield when he played for the Marlins that he never even considered being a designated hitter.
I think that the Yankees will will get rid of him next year.
You mean after next year?
Yeah, they'll get rid of him. He's got to have a monster year this year and next year in order for him to prove himself. But other than that, I don't think they'll keep him next year. I really don't. I really don't, because I know the fans have been talking about it, and the Yankees are very tight-lipped. But you're always hearing, well, Giancarlo Stanton getting traded, but you can't because of his huge contract. Gary Sanchez, another one. He's got a good bat, but he kills you defensively. That's another one that, do you keep or do you trade?
The question is, who would want him? And for who?
For a bat? Or do you re-sign him? Because I think this year is his last year.
Mm-hmm.
So do you sign him? Or if you were able to trade him, would you trade him?
The thing is, who would take over behind the plate?
They would have to get a young guy coming up, or get. It is New York Yankees. People do want to play for the New York Yankees, so I'm sure they can get someone.
Mm-hmm.
They're not inept in that department. So I believe that they would be able to get either an all-star catcher or an up-and-coming catcher. Or maybe someone homegrown. Because
homegrown, that's going to take a while, because there are no catchers that I've heard of in the minor leagues that have really made names for themselves.
I can tell you, catcher is one of the hardest positions to play. But if you can catch and you're a decent hitter, you can make the league very quickly, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have to take brilliancy. And all I know is that, because I've caught in games,
mm-hmm.
and it's very hard, especially when the ball's coming at you that hard and foul tips and everything else. And with the new equipment that they have, you put those calf things on, you put them on so that you can sit on it as well. So there's a lot of new equipment out there, but it's still one of the hardest positions to get into.
Obviously.
And I don't think that they'll sign Sanchez. If his contract is next year, I don't think they'll sign him next year.
Again, who do the Yankees replace him with? Kyle
They'll find
Higashioka?
someone.
I don't think so. Higashioka can't even hit.
If your other 8 players can hit, you can get away with a guy not hitting.
Higashioka's basically shown himself to be no more than a backup.
Because he was hitting well. In 1 year, he did very well when Sanchez went down. He's just not an everyday player.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go about it that way, you're going to see that, hey, listen, the guy is going to be good. I'm sure they'll find someone that is going to want to play for the Yankees. Like I said, there are people that still want to play with the Yankees because they're a so-called class organization.
Yeah.
And they win a lot, and they've won 28 championships.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon who's the coach and how they treat their players, because you never hear hardly, well, I shouldn't say that, because there have been players that have talked badly on how they were treated after they've gotten out of the organization and they retired. that some people weren't treated right, but you never hear hardly Yankee players being treated badly. Have you?
Not that I've heard of.
And I see that Susan Waldman and John Sterling, I don't know if you heard about this,
Yeah.
Rip Yankee fans for booing Garrett Cole. What is wrong with these people?
You know, can I really take what Susan Waldman says about...
And John Sterling.
What Susan Waldman and John Sterling said about the fans at face value? I mean, seriously. Those
now
fans
remember,
had
this was the same problem
right.
that the Mets were having.
The fans had every right to boo Garrett Cole and the rest of the Yankees, for that matter, because they have not been playing well. And I'm going to tell you right now, a game and a half left. Look who the Yankees have to play in the last 12 games. The Texas Rangers, who are awful. If they can't beat the Texas Rangers, they don't deserve to go to the playoffs. And then there's the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, who have given them a lot of trouble, and finally Tampa. And let me tell you, the Yankees are under 500 within their own division. So unless something really strange happens, don't expect the Yankees in the playoffs this year.
And speaking of playoffs in New York, how about our compadres in Queens?
If you're talking about the Mets, I was at last night's game after finishing up the job. So I was able to arrive, I think, in the bottom of the 6th inning. But you know what? It was still a good win for the Mets, being able to get the finale of that 3-game series from the Phillies the way they did. But the Mets' schedule is pretty tough too. They have to play 2 games against the Red Sox up at Fenway. Then there's Milwaukee. Then there's Florida. And finally, they finish the season with Atlanta. And the Mets are 4 games under 500 right now.
They still can make the playoffs.
I hate to tell you this, Hector, but there's not going to be any postseason for the Mets this year. They can't hit. Their bullpen has imploded on occasion. Look no further than Edwin Diaz, who's had major problems trying to lock games down this season.
Are there a lot of injuries on that team as well?
Well, you can look no further than Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard. But from what I heard, I think Syndergaard might be able to return for the Milwaukee series. But they might let him go just an inning or two. Word has it they might even turn him into not a closer, but a reliever, a middle inning reliever. And
well,
as far as Jacob deGrom is concerned,
I think his contract's up next year or this year.
Syndergaard's contract is up this year. deGrom got himself a new deal.
Do you keep Syndergaard?
I would say yes, because Syndergaard throws about as hard as any major league pitcher that I've seen.
But he's been injured prone.
Yeah, he's had problems with his health in the past. So.
And how long do you keep him for?
I'm going to see if the Mets can try and convince him to work on a 3-year contract, because a long-term deal, 5 or 6 years, that's a lot to ask of Syndergaard, especially considering that he just got back with the team.
Well, it is tough. They may, according to what I'm reading, that there is a chance that they can make the playoff if they do what they have to do. And if the ball bounces in the right direction, because they're talking about Jeff McNeil,
Yeah.
He's been doing well.
He won last night's game with a home run.
And has Steve Cohen has failed the Mets more than Francisco Lindor?
Well, it's Lindor has not played well. There's no secret about it. But you can't blame the kid for not playing hard. I mean, he's been busting his butt every single day. Not only that, but he's been their most durable player this year. I don't remember him missing one game because of an injury.
He has missed games.
He's missed games, but I'm not sure if it's because of injury, though.
Yeah, it has been injury.
Really?
Yes. Yes, it has been injury. And I'll tell you something else. I've read so far that Luis Rojas supports Mets minor leaguers who protest insufficient wages.
Oh.
The minor league system is horrendous when it comes to pay.
Yeah.
And these are big organizations. We already lost the Yankees minor league system here in New York, in Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you're in Pony League, Single A, Double A, or Triple A,
mm-hmm.
The hotels are not great. You get the bus rides. I'm going, well, if you're making so much money on top, you should be able to spread the wealth down there as well, because these are so-called players that you're looking forward for them to perhaps be your superstar eventually.
Right.
Not all of them make it, but they do what they have to do. They shouldn't have to, let's say, go get another job. This isn't the 1940s or 50s or 30s or 20s where some of the baseball players, no matter how much they made, they had to get Yogi Berra had to get a second job.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe DiMaggio and all them other ones had to get second jobs as well. So and you got Luis Rojas, who is the manager of the Mets, who may not come back next year, I feel, unless the Mets get major improvements and major all-stars by Steve Cohen. He opens up his bank book and goes, you know what? I'm going to be like George Steinbrenner now. I'm going to get the best players, and that's it. Whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you have a manager that's willing to protest this, which is good. But will anybody listen?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
This has been going on for a long time now, and I wonder if they have a union in the minor league system, like they do in the majors. Because if not, then I think it's time that these young minor leaguers, some of whom have great potential, form their own union. That way, they could be able to protest whatever atrocities that's been coming their way. Poor pay, of course, being one of them.
Yeah.
And for the record, Francisco Lindor has played 113 games this year. Pete Alonso leads the Mets in playing time. He's played 140 games this season. So I stand corrected.
But I can say that at this point in time, what do you think of Luis Rojas coming back next year?
Well, he has not necessarily distinguished himself when it comes to strategy. I mean, he's mismanaged the bullpen at times. Not only that, but sometimes I wonder if if he's managing the position players as well, taking guys out when when he's not supposed to, the double switches that he's done.
Do you think that he's getting tips from, let's say, the GM or someone saying, go with the statistics, go with what the computer says instead of going with what your gut says? Because I think that's what the Yankees do.
Yeah.
So do you think he's going with his gut, or do you think he's going with the statistics because someone told him to go by that?
It could be that he's maybe going with statistics, especially when it comes to his bullpen. I mean, he might have a guy who's dominated a certain hitter, and he'll pitch to the guy, and the guy will get himself a big base hit here and there. That's happened so many times in this game.
Do you know who the Mets are not having back next year off the top of your head besides Syndergaard?
Dominic Smith is one.
Is he worth coming back, or is he worth getting rid of?
Dominic Smith?
Yes.
Well, the numbers don't really show it. 246 average, 11 homers, 58 RBIs. That's a really good question.
And do you think Steve Cohen will do better next year? Will he try to be someone that says, because he says he's always been a winner. So do you think he'll break open up his vault of money, pay the luxury tax, and go, you know what, we're going to get better players next year, and we're going to try to get the top players? Because I don't even know which top players are out next year.
Well,
that the Mets can get, or the Yankees.
Well, he's really going to have to open up his vault of money if he's going to try and improve the team next year. Not only that, but I'd have to see exactly which guys are going to be the prime free agents in 2021.
Yes.
To see who the Mets can go after.
Yes. Who do you think is who's available? Off the top of your head.
I'd have to look at the list of free agents just to see.
Oh, okay.
Not really sure right now.
But all in all, do you think that Steve Cohen and the Mets, Steve Cohen team, that is it safe hands with him? Do you believe in him?
Yeah, I believe in him. I think he's 2 steps up from the Wilpons. And to answer your other question from before, what are they going to do with Dominic Smith? My gut feeling is that they're going to bring him back.
Okay. And the Yankees, do you think that it's the same question. Do you think that the owner, Steinbrenner, are they in good hands? Or do you think they'll get rid of Cashman again?
They're in very good hands with Hal Steinbrenner. He has shown a lot of patience in this team for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years or so.
Is Aaron Boone gone?
Is Aaron Boone gone?
Next year, if he doesn't make the playoffs.
If they don't make the playoffs, don't be surprised if you see the Yankees call a press conference or put out a memo saying that Aaron Boone has officially been relieved of his duties, because he's been a little bit reckless with his bullpen.
And Luis Rojas next year comes back or stays? I
say he stays.
Oh, okay. I think both of them are gone if they don't do anything.
The question is,
if they make the playoffs, then he may have a chance next year.
I think even if he makes the playoffs, he might be gone.
I don't know, but we'll see. Now,
you know what? I'd give him one more year. Give
who?
Aaron Boone
or Rojas?
Give Aaron Boone one more year, and if he still does what he's doing next year, like he's doing now, then he has to be gone.
It's just one of those things. It's very hard. It's very hard to decide because it's one of those things where you're playing the game of chess. Now, talking about the boroughs, are Brooklyn Nets. Are they in good shape for next year?
Next year is just a couple of weeks away.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it also. I'm hoping to take in a game over at Barclays Center sometime next year.
I would enjoy going to there as well. Maybe we can get together and get tickets. I'll try to get tickets to someone.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
I think that who's going to be the team? Who's going to be the team to watch this year? The Nets or the Knicks?
I would say of the two, probably the Knicks because of the help that they got. Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. It's not a blockbuster pair of signings, but Kemba Walker has carved himself out a really nice career. Unfortunately, he's got two bad knees, so I'm a little curious to see whether his knees will hold up so he can be able to play about 80 games this year.
Now, Fournier.
Evan Fournier.
Is that a big step from last year?
What's that?
Fournier.
What about him?
Is that a big step from last year? Is he a good signing?
I would say he's a pretty good signing, yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, not a blockbuster, but he'll give them enough scoring where they will not have to worry about bringing in the backup.
And his backup is Kevin Knox.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you right now, Kevin Knox is as good as gone after this season.
He's got to show that he can play this year.
Yeah, he really has to shape up. Otherwise, he's going to be shipped out.
And what's so sad that the boy's only 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to play in the league, but he got coronavirus. And
he did, huh?
It's a shame that because he would have benefited.
Yeah,
I think just like Obi Tobin.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I think the Knicks are stacked this year, and what I mean by that is that they have tradable pieces.
Yeah.
Now, with Grimes, Tobin, the only people I wouldn't touch would be Robertson and R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm. Julius Randle got himself a nice little contract after last season.
I wouldn't touch. But Emmanuel Quigley. I think they have enough pieces to go out and get a big trade if they decide to do that. Now, the thing is, who's out there that they can trade for? Because Damian Lillard, that seems to be the number one guy. And how many pieces do you get for him?
All right.
Especially when you got a young team still. It's not an older team. I mean, it's more young than old. They're still in their 20s. The average age is about 28 still.
Mm-hmm.
You have one that's 30, 32, but the average age is between 21 or between 19 to 28. The average age, I think.
Right.
So, in that case, it all depends. Another thing, it all depends on the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid of him, even though
you should be afraid of him. He's a disciplinarian.
No, I'm afraid of him because, to me, he's like Buck Showalter a little bit.
That's a good comparison.
Because this was his problem with the other teams, which he can teach for about 2 years, and then after that, that's it. The team won't listen to him. The young guys that were there, he still think of them as young guys. He doesn't trust the young guys as well. He'll always go with the older players because if you know from last year, he wanted to get older players that he trusted.
Right.
And thank goodness for once, I believe in the organization, and then they told him no. So is Kevin Knox getting a fair share? I don't know. Did Obi Thompson get a fair share? Because, again, he likes playing older guys that he can trust more because they know the game better. But you have a young team. What do you think about what I said?
Well,
because he does have a reputation.
Yeah, he has. That's why he's lost 2 other jobs. He got fired from Chicago and he got fired from Minnesota. But there is some validity to this because we all know Tom Thibodeau has had a long career, not just as a head coach, but as an assistant as well. And whether he favors veterans over the rookies or young stars, it's debatable. But I believe that he wants to go with a hot hand. And let me tell you, he's really fattened up on his point guard rotation. It's now Quickly and Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose.
And don't forget the other ones, Burke, Grimes, McBride. Don't forget them guys as well because these are Tom Thibodeau's boys.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted those guards.
Yeah.
So you have about 9 guards on the team.
Hey, guard play is the norm in this sport now.
Yes, but 9, and for why? So that you can have how many? If you think about it, you have 15 players, right?
Mm-hmm.
And normally you have 3 centers. You try to have 3, let's say, power forwards, 3 small forwards, and about 6 guards. I think that's 15. Maybe I'm wrong. That's 12, I think. So you average it out.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the team, who's your small forward besides Kevin Knox and Fournier? Who's your third small forward?
Who's the third small forward? Let me see here.
And if you look at power forward, you got Julius Randle, Obi Toppin, who's your third power forward, and then you got 3 centers.
Yep.
And you got about 9 guards, like I said. So if one of your guards becomes a small forward, that's the only way.
I begin to tell you who that third forward is.
Because they want to play small.
Mm-hmm.
But they got killed by the Hawks last year because they played bigs on them.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go to Brooklyn. How
Right.
do you see Brooklyn? I mean, they're older team. They're stacked. That's an all-star team. They're like the Harlem Globetrotters to me.
I don't know about that, but
They're
after
the
James
whole,
Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris,
Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin also, those are 5 guys that you could
And they have
you could
more
count
all
on.
stars. If you look at their lineup, check out their lineup, and you're going to see that they have a bunch of all stars. And the only person that comes close to them, the only team that comes close to them is the Lakers.
Yeah.
Look at the Lakers team, bunch of all stars.
Yep. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony also, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard is back for a second tour of duty with the Lakers, Rajon Rondo. That's a pretty good group of 7 that they have right there.
Now, do you have the Nets list?
List of what?
Of the players that they have?
Yeah. Harden, Durant, Irving, Harris, Patty Mills, who I think is a brilliant signing. He's a very, very underrated player. He was the guy that learned the system under Greg Popovich in San Antonio.
Is he an all-star?
He's definitely not an all-star.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he should have been, though.
Go ahead.
Bruce Brown, Javon Carter, who they got from the Suns, Sekou Doumbouya. LaMarcus Aldridge is back from retirement. Fortunately,
He was an all-star.
Mm-hmm. And the doctors gave him clearance to play again. Griffin, James Johnson, Paul Millsap, which is a very underrated signing. Paul Millsap's had a really good career.
He's a damn good ball player, though. He is. Paul Millsap is a damn good ball player.
Mm-hmm. Cameron Thomas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Nicholas Claxton, a guy who, if they gave a little bit more playing time to, could probably be one of the best big men in the league. Deandre Bembry, who they signed off the scrap heap from Atlanta. Kessler Edwards and the kid from Providence, David Duke.
So how do you see that team? It's a stacked team.
It's very stacked. And I think if they don't have any problems with injuries, I think they go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They better. They have to.
Last year was a total disappointment.
They have to go.
Mm-hmm.
At least they have a chance of going every year.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is, let's say James Harden goes down and Kyrie Irving goes down, you still have 3 or 4. You have the rest of damn good ball players, and you still have 2 or 3 all-stars on the damn team. Last year they couldn't pull it off, but maybe this year, hopefully, they will. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of teams that did improve.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, I'm looking at next year, and all I want to know is, and this is a question that you've answered plenty of times, and I've said it the same way.
Right.
Which is, which all-star player, and I'm not saying Damian Lillard, I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't think what LeBron James type player is going to want to play for the New York Knicks?
First of all, there's no one that even comes close to LeBron James.
Like a Kevin Durant type, somebody with all that juice, a player like that. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, a name like that go to the Knicks because, they're saying Zion Williamson because he's leaving he may want to leave next year.
Is he really going to leave New Orleans next year or after next year? Because
If he wants to play with R.J. Barrett, his buddy, you never know.
I just don't see it happening at all. I still think the Knicks have to prove themselves for one more year if they're going to be looked at as an attractive team that they're going to want to work with.
And who do you? This is another. But the question is, who do you see the Knicks getting as an all-star player to play for them as a free agent? I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
As good as they are, because of what's happened in the past. Kevin Durant wanted to play. He goes to Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving, the same way. LeBron James, his wife decided.
I guess we know who wears the pants in that family.
You notice, everybody wants to play for the New York Knicks.
Do they really want to play for the New York Knicks?
But they always use them. But think about it. They always use them. They always say, we want to play for the New York Knicks, and then the other teams throw more money so that they won't go to the Knicks. Just like they use the New York Yankees, just like they use all the New York teams.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I'm going, who do you think, what all-star is going to land? Because you read it last time, and I hope that one of those all-star players, LeBron-type players or Kevin Durant players, goes to the New York Knicks, because the last big guy that we had was Patrick Ewing. That was the number one player. That was the it player right there.
Yep.
We haven't had one of those it players in a very, very long time.
Nope.
And I'm looking forward for that one player like Patrick Ewing to come and play for that one it player to come for that to that New York Knicks team, because the guy before him was Bernard King.
The good old days.
And there were other players before him, but I'm just saying within our lifetime, Bernard King and Patrick Ewing were the main guys, the main dudes. We haven't had a main dude like that yet. Julius Randle, I'm sorry, no, he's not the guy. He's not the man yet.
All right, let me answer this question right now and answer it in a way that people can understand. No all-star, no elite player, no big-name guy with even a quarter of a brain will ever suit up for that franchise.
Why not? They're a good team.
You do know that stuff runs rampant.
Yes,
in
James
sports,
Dolan
right?
is a big buffoon. Yes, we know.
That's an understatement. That man, I will never, ever forgive or forget, for that matter, what he did to that franchise. And the same thing goes for the Rangers, too. That's your answer right there.
I'm just going by facts, and I think that they may be able to do it. They may be able to do it. I just don't know who. But if the Knicks continue to play the way they're playing and they show promise, there's going to be one guy that says, you know what? I'm going to make this team great again. And if they do, and they win the championship, he's going to be the king of New York. And that is the truth. Now, will they get that person? I hope so. Because I think the only way they'll get that all-star player is if through a trade.
Yeah.
But
we have less than 5 minutes to go, and we have not
the
talked.
Jets and Giants. Explain.
Well, let's see. First off, the Giants should have beaten the Redskins. That's a fact. But because they had to commit all those silly penalties and Joe Judge practically sabotaged a couple of his own team's drives on offense, the Giants are now 0-2 instead of 1-1. As for the Jets, let's face facts. Zach Wilson stunk against the Patriots. But it's probably for the best that we exercise a little caution with this rookie. I mean, he's only had 2 games. Let's see what he could do for a third time with the team. And I think we should exercise all patience with Daniel Jones, too. And yes, I know you're not really a fan of his, but it's probably best that we exercise a little bit of patience with both of these young quarterbacks.
With the Jets quarterback, I give him up because he just started. But with Daniel Jones and the way the contracts are set up, as I spoke to you before about it, they can't sit for 2 years on the bench anymore. They have to prove themselves now.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in time, if he does well, great. But he's got to prove himself this year because he's not going to be there next year.
Nope.
And neither is the GM. Neither is the GM. I can tell you that much. If they don't do it this year, then if they don't do something this year, they're not going to do it. The quarterback and the GM is gone.
Don't expect anything out of the Giants this year. They're not going to make the playoffs. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to take at least 3 years for the Jets and the Giants to be taken seriously. As far as who to fire, Dave Gettleman's got to go. I don't care what he did in Carolina, but Dave Gettleman has got to go. As far as Joe Judge is concerned, Joe Judge is only in his second season.
Yeah, you got to give him time. Yeah,
he needs to be given as much time as possible.
You got to give him time. You have a new quarterback, and you're starting from scratch with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I'm saying be patient with the Jets, but with the quarterback of Daniel Jones, this year is his year. If he doesn't do something this year, like you said, if he doesn't hit a certain plateau, he's gone next year, and so is the GM.
Well, Dave Gettleman, I know, has got to go. That's a given.
You know, and there's a lot of things that happened. So next Monday, we're going to talk more football, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Okay.
We're going to do it.
Let's see. We got 1:20 left over.
Yes. And as for wrestling, they all stink. AEW, NXT I miss the old NXT. AEW with all the people that they've signed with Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, all them guys. I'm glad they signed them. They just need a real damn good booker. And that's it for them. And WWE, as Mick Foley said, I wouldn't trust them with my career this year. I mean, with my career, because the way they're going, they're not doing well at all. So that's my 2 cents for wrestling this year. I'm just glad everybody's getting a job. There's a lot of wrestling organizations out there that have a job.
That's good. And with that said, we officially wrap it up. So thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass, and thanks to you for watching at home. For everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
We will see you next Monday night. Good night, everyone.
Night-night.